agreeing to a 5-year, $90 million deal, the largest ticket by any undrafted player.
Lonzo Ball signed and traded.
I love this pickup by Chicago.
Trae Young and the Hawks agreed to the rookie max extension.
The Knicks are bringing back both Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel.
Chris Paul re-upping with the Suns. A new 4-year deal could be worth up to $120 million.
Welcome into First Take. I'm Victoria Arlen, and I'm the newbie to the squad over here, alongside these epic humans. Dominique Foxworth, who is here with me in studio. Marcus Spears and Kendrick Perkins are here from afar. So shall we do this, guys?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Absolutely. What you rubbing your hands for, Dominique?
Because you know I'm ready to eat. I'm ready to eat. I'm happy you are here because I'm ready to eat.
Well, I'm ready for NBA free agency, which kicked off yesterday with some big moves because we've got Trae Young. He's agreed to a 5-year rookie max deal to stay in Atlanta. That could be worth up to $207 million after making it to the NBA Finals for the first time in his career, 11-time All-Star. Chris Paul is in Phoenix. He's going to re-sign on a 4-year, $120 million deal. And, I'd say it's well worthwhile. And we've got an all-star. Kyle Lowry is on his way from Toronto to Miami in a sign and trade. And he has agreed to a 3-year, $90 million deal with the Heat. And Lonzo Ball, he's going to be heading to the Bulls for a sign and trade in with the Pelicans. The 5th-year point guard signed to a 4-year, $85 million deal with Chicago. But there were many other moves yesterday. Mike Conley Jr. agreed to stay put with the Jazz. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander agreed to a 5-year, $172 million extension with the Thunder. And the Lakers are bringing back 4 players who previously played for them, including Trevor Ariza and Dwight Howard. And the Knicks agreed to a deal with Evan Fournier, and they will bring back Derrick Rose. All right, guys, who had the best move of free agency? So, Marcus, I'm going to start with you.
I'm starting with the Phoenix Suns. I love them keeping Chris Paul. Listen, we saw what he did. We know the rapport that he has with Monty Williams, but we all saw the veteran presence take hold. And in order for Phoenix to get back to having an opportunity to win a championship, I think Chris Paul is going to be a big part of that. You love to get enamored with the moves of guys going to new teams that they hadn't previously been with, but we need no bigger sample size than what we saw this year and the impact we saw Chris Paul have on the Phoenix Suns. I didn't expect a 4-year, $120 million deal. It only reaffirms that I should have tried to go to the NBA. And even if I would have sucked and been on the bench, I would have made more money than I did playing in the NFL. But the bottom line is, man, veteran presence. Chris Paul showed that he still can go at a very high level. But I think more importantly, when you re-sign Chris Paul, you show your young stars, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, you show these young guys that we are still in the mix to win a championship, and that veteran presence is going to pay dividends like it did this year. So I think that's the best signing this year.
Who you got, Perk?
You know what, Spears? It was a good signing, and I don't disagree with none of the points you made. But when we talk about the best free agent signing yesterday, I have to give it to Lonzo Ball, right? You look at a guy that was drafted number 2 overall to the Lakers, traded to the New Orleans Pelicans, was able to keep his value up, wasn't retained to the team he was traded to, kept his value up, and signed an $80 million deal with a player option on the back end. And when you look at Lonzo Ball, he has increased and improved his game, his outside shooting. This is a guy right now that needs the ball in his hands, that's going to have the keys to the vehicle to drive in Chicago, playing alongside Zach LaVine and Vucevic, having that big man that could pick and pop, pick and roll to the basket. He's going to be throwing those backdoor lobs to Zach LaVine and getting out in transition. This is a guy that is capable of going out there and getting you 18, 10 dimes, and 8 rebounds a night. And look, Lonzo Ball, I know he had to play alongside Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram, so we didn't get to see the Lonzo Ball that we wanted to see. Meaning, to me, he's superstar type material. He has that potential to be must-see TV. We're going to see that in Chicago. I thought Chicago won yesterday by signing this young superstar in the making.
Yeah, I like that. They got a bit of a baby big three out there in Chicago, and Lonzo gets a chance to have the ball in his hands and kind of control the offense. They've been trying to find a point guard for a while, and it seems like they found one. But I can't say it's the best deal because this is going to get them in the playoffs, but I don't know how close it gets them to the top of the East. And I like what you said about Chris Paul, but I mean, I got a little issue with that trade, or excuse me, with that signing also, but we can get back to that. We'll go to the most obvious answer. See, what happens is y'all come on TV and you want to seem smart. So you go off and you find some different answer. You go find the one that's not in front of you. Like, man, I'm going to get him with this one. I'm going to kill him when I say it's Lonzo Ball. Why can't we just go with Lowry? He was the highest rated free agent. He went to a team that was in the conference finals, or excuse me, in the finals a year ago. He went to a team that plays great defense. He's a great defender. He's a very good shooter. He's a guy who you can give the ball to in key possessions in the fourth quarter of playoff games and feel confident. Like, I don't understand why you guys are making this harder than it has to be. This team was good last year. They were even better the year before, and their shortcomings were at the point guard position. They brought in a veteran presence who has championship experience, who fills in all the gaps that they have at that position, allows Jimmy Butler to do what he does best. They're not going to be asking Tyler Hero to run the one, which they were doing at certain points last year, which was bad for everybody. Like, I feel like this, just having him on the team, allows people to play their true positions and allows them to all be better. And this team is already better. And we hear so much about Heat culture. Lowry's a guy who fits in a Heat culture. So I think it's obvious that that is the best signing yesterday for the best team. And Marcus, I love Chris Paul and I love what they did there. They had to do it, frankly. But how good are the Suns really? Like, they might have been out in the first round if it weren't for an injury to AD. Like, I understand that they had to make this move. I'm not criticizing for that move, but I'm not sure that they're as close as we think they are, or as close as we all saw them.
I knew.
You knew that was coming?
This is my daughter's cup right here, and it's got unicorns on it. Because I knew I was going to have to get into it with Big Perk and Dom this morning. How in the hell are both of y'all? Listen, I get it. I like the sign. It's Lonzo Ball won. The Bulls ain't about to do a damn thing. We all know that. And then when you talk about Kyle Lowry with the Miami Heat, yes, Kyle Lowry makes the Miami Heat better. We saw them in the finals 2 years ago. We just saw Phoenix in the finals. And listen, if you are going to have a chance in the West, you better have a veteran presence that can still play at a very high level. I understand all of the arguments that y'all just made, but you, Perk, talking about Lonzo and Vucevic and Zach LaVine, ain't nobody worried about that. And Dom, to you, like you with Kyle Lowry going to the Miami Heat, we all understand what that franchise is about. Yes, that's the conventional thought. Like, let's go with the guy that left Toronto and signed with a new team because that's the best signing. No, the hell it ain't. Chris Paul just went crazy in a playoff series. He's with Monty Williams. The Phoenix Suns are going to be better with their younger guys. This is the best signing. You know why? Because he keeps everything intact. These guys I expect to be better a year later. We just saw the Lakers get Westbrook. We don't know what's going to happen with Kawhi. We know that Steph and Golden State are trying to make a comeback with Klay coming back off of injury. If the Phoenix Suns doesn't have Chris Paul and they going into the season with Cam Payne, and this is no shade on Cam Payne, played great, was a tremendous player for them down the stretch. But would we even talk about Phoenix with the possibility of coming out of the West if they didn't reach Chris Paul?
No. You're right about that, but go ahead,
see, here's the problem that I have, right? I'm sitting up here between two guys that really know about sports, that are great at their jobs, and we're sitting up here talking about free agent signings, and we're talking about y'all up here preaching about and trying to sit up here and tell the world about y'all case of signing senior citizens, okay? Both of these guys are over the age of 35. They're past their prime, and we're sitting up here really talking about this, and we're talking about a young superstar in the making, in my opinion, in Lonzo Ball, who's a 6'7" point guard, a guy that has the potential to do Russell Westbrook-type things. I'm not saying he's going to average a triple-double, but he has the potential. He has the upside. He has showed us that he's already improved his jump shot. Yeah. But you know what? Spears, let me get to Dominique for a second because he's sitting in the right chair today. He's sitting in the right chair today. That's the seat that Max Kellerman usually sits in. That's the seat that Max usually sits in. And this is why I say Dominique's sitting in the right chair. Because again, he's all over the place. Just 24 hours ago, I was on First Take with him yesterday, telling him about Kyle Lowry going to the Heat and that how they were going to be a threat in the Eastern Conference, a top three seed in the East, and he was sitting up here telling me Kyle Lowry don't move the needle like that. Although he's a good player, he was sitting up. You
made your point.
Yeah, hold on. I mean, he was really going in on me about me talking about how valuable Kyle Lowry would be, to the Heat culture. It was a great fit. He takes pressure off of Jimmy Butler. He takes pressure off of Bam. Not Jimmy Butler only could worry about getting buckets is what he do.
Okay.
And then you come back 24 hours later and tell me why this is the best free agent signing?
There is no contradiction in anything that I said. Yesterday, the question was, are they a threat to win the East? I still do not believe they're going to win the East. Yes, did they jump up to third in the East? Yes, that doesn't change. It was still a good signing. It was the best signing. The problem with your signing I actually really like. It's a really good signing, but it's not going to do much. It might get them in the playoffs. It might make them a destination where they can get some more players, but it's not the biggest move. My problem with Spears signing is I love this if they're going to win the championship next year, because they are going to need to build a roster around Bridges, around Booker, and around Ayton. It's going to be real hard to do that because after next year, they already going to be in the tax. So I love the Chris Paul signing as long as they win a championship next year because they are done after that. I don't imagine that Chris Paul, who has been injury prone towards the end of his career, that Chris Paul is going to be playing top level basketball into his 40s. I understand that they had to do that because of the season that they had. But let's be honest, this hamstrings that franchise a bit going forward.
Do you realize, Dominique, that the Chicago Bulls has probably been the worst ran franchise since, like, when you start putting them forwards in a conversation with the New York Knicks? The New York Knicks has surpassed that. They're starting to move in the right direction. Guess what? The Chicago Bulls are doing the same thing. Zach LaVine was an all-star this year. You go and trade and get Vucevic, who also was an all-star this year. Now you go out and you sign Lonzo Ball for $80-some million, right? You lock him in, a guy that's a young point guard that loves to get others involved. Right now, I'm looking at the Chicago Bulls, and they're eye candy to the rest of the NBA. You look at this miniature big three, and guys are going to want to go play in Chicago. So I don't get what you're saying. This is the best free agent signing in Lonzo Ball with the Chicago Bulls.
It's a good signing. It's just a step below. It's just a step below Lowry.
Y'all just argue for the second best signing. Y'all just argue for the second best signing. I done told y'all what the hell the best signing was, and that was Chris Paul going back to the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
I think we've got to keep it going. We've got unicorn cups, which I want one of those, by the way. But we've got to move on to the NFL. I don't have a unicorn cup. I will have one next time. But moving on to the NFL, Frank Reich announced midday yesterday.
Love the nickname Logo Lillard. It's so smooth.
Here's Lillard again from the logo.
It's a feeling like you got the defense at your mercy. And when I make that shot, it's deflating.
Logo Lillard at his finest.
Oh, my goodness. Look at this shot by Lillard.
I think I shoot that deep ball as good as anybody.
Damian Lillard has solidified himself as one of the greatest players in Trailblazer history. He's the franchise's all-time leader in 50-point games and three-pointers made, and only trails Clyde Drexler in total points and minutes. Stephen A. Smith discussed Lillard and his future on the Jump Special yesterday.
If Damian Lillard wants out of Portland, and I'm not sure he does yet, his number one choice is going to be the New York Knicks.
Really?
Heard it right here.
Ooh, inside scoop.
His number one choice is going to be the New York Knicks. Now, not over Portland. He's trying to stay there if it can work out. But if he decides to leave, I'm betting the house. It's the New York Knicks that he'll want to go to. Now, if you're the New York Knicks.
Couple houses.
Where's the camera?
Steve, there you go.
Leon Rose, Worldwide West, William Wesley, Scott Perry, Tom Thibodeau. I don't want to hear cap space and picks. You give Portland what the hell they asked for if Damian Lillard is available to come. And I don't know if he's going to do that. I don't know if he's going to demand that. I don't know if Neil O'Shea is going to capitulate.
Right.
But if that possibility is there, Leon Rose, Worldwide West, Scott Perry, Tom Thibodeau, you do what you got to do to get Damian.
Well. Stephen A. just dishing the tea over there. Now, we have to discuss this. So, Perk, I'm going to start with you. Should Lillard be the number one choice? Should his number one choice be the New York Knicks?
No, hell no. And look, here's the problem, right? When you start getting up in age, you start to lose your memory a little bit. And it happens to all old folks. And Marcus, you know, you and I from the southern part of Texas and the southern part of Louisiana, down there in the country. And our grandmas always used to say, God bless his heart, baby. He don't know no better. That's how I feel about Stephen A. right now. You're talking about, look, they have a small area in New York City. They have a small area in New York City that's called Coney Island, okay? Coney Island. Okay, if Damian Lillard decides to go to New York, it's going to be Lonely Island, all right? Because for the simple fact, he's going to be in the same position that he is in Portland. He's going to be in the same position. There's no reason for him to go to New York. Look, the only reason he goes to New York is to please the fan base of the New York Knicks. It's not going to benefit Damian Lillard. It's going to benefit Stephen A. and Spike Lee. He's not going to win a championship there. His number one choice right now, I think, is to stay in Portland. Stay in Portland and figure things out. You have C.J. McCollum, and y'all are one of the best dynamic backcourts in the game today. You just signed Norman Powell back. You have Big Nurkic. But most importantly, you have another voice in the locker room with Chauncey Billups. And we saw what happened throughout the playoffs when you have a different voice in the locker room with Ty Lue and the Clippers, Nate McMillan and the Atlanta Hawks, Monty Williams. When you have a new voice, now you have to just listen because Chauncey Billups has been to the mountaintop. Chauncey Billups knocked off the Lakers with Kobe, Shaq, Karl Malone, Gary Payton, and won Finals MVP. The Portland Trail Blazers could score points with the best of them. Their problem is defense. Chauncey Billups is going to go in there and impose his will. He's going to demand the locker room. He's going to get those guys to defend at his highest level. So, hell no. To answer your question, hell no, New York shouldn't be his number one choice.
Chauncey Billups is one of the few kind of smaller point guards to actually win a championship in NBA history as like the MVP, the lead-ish dog. So I guess that gives him some expertise to try to build this team around Damian Lillard. That seems like a better location. There are other places that he could go, but if it's between Portland and the Knicks, I think you're right. Stephen A. he's a great reporter. I trust him on most of the things that he talks about, except when it comes to the Knicks, because then he's thinking with his heart and not his head. Because there's nothing smart about coming to New York if your goal is to win a championship. Because first of all, he said it himself. Give them whatever they want. They're not close to winning a championship now. So we're going to give them everything and replace Damian Lillard with everything, and they're somehow going to get closer to winning a championship? So I don't believe that this is Damian Lillard's first destination or first choice as a destination. I think it's Stephen A.'s first choice for a Damian Lillard destination. And I learned over the past couple years when it comes to Damian Lillard, I don't believe anything that he says unless Chris Haynes says it. I don't believe Damian Lillard if he says something about how he feels, unless Chris Haynes says it. So that is the reporter that knows Damian Lillard best. That's the guy who gives us all our Damian Lillard information, and it is always on point. So until he says that Damian Lillard wants to go to the Knicks, I'm not going to believe it. And I'm sorry, Stephen A., the Knicks are still going to have to find somebody else because there's no way that Dame comes to New York. He wants to win a championship, and the Knicks are not close to doing it.
Well, for clarification, he did say Portland was the #1 choice.
Right.
Obviously, working on it, him being there. But the second part is I disagree with both of y'all. I think the Knicks are a great spot for Dame Lillard because it's the foundational piece. Like, listen, we're not talking about a team. We know they're going to have to give some stuff up to get him over there. But you need a superstar. Like every franchise that's going to win a championship got to start with a superstar at some point. And based on the decisions that they've been making, look, I'm not a Dolan fan. Obviously, I'm not a Dolan fan based on how former players have been treated in Madison Square Garden. But when you look at what William Wesley has done and Perry, these dudes been pretty solid. Like the Knicks were in the playoffs this year, and from abysmal. From people not even talking about the New York Knicks, and it's shifting over to the Brooklyn Nets. So if you can get Dame and continue to put pieces together and make this a plan that may be 2 or 3 years out as far as them being in contention for a championship, I see absolutely no problem with that. And looking at it from Dame's perspective, like if you big market, and obviously we just saw the Bucks win in a small market and win through the draft, but if you are a superstar, and you go into a place, if you're going to leave where you are, you want to go to a place where it's going to be attractive for other superstars. And that's one place the Knicks will be. And I get it. Brooklyn is the love right now with KD and James Harden and obviously Kyrie there and everybody jumping on Brooklyn. But let the New York Knicks get a superstar and let them add another piece a year from now or 2 years from now, and we'll be having an entirely different conversation. In order for the New York Knicks to have success in winning a championship, because y'all looking at right now, at some point, they going to have a superstar in order to get it done. And we all know Dame is that.
See, here's the problem. I did not expect to come on this show this morning and start wrestling with Big Swagoo. And because of our size, it's probably sumo wrestling, all right? There's a lot of sumo wrestling going on because we both big fellas. But it's furniture moving. But here's the point. Look, Damian Lillard is 31 years of age, all right? It's not too much left in his prime, Swagoo. And I understand the market is big. But Damian Lillard has made over $400 million for his NBA earnings, his shoe deal. Right now, Damian Lillard has to worry about winning a championship. Again, I'm going to go back to the point of Kevin Garnett. Different players, obviously, right? Kevin Garnett, power forward, center, whatever you want to call him. Damian Lillard, point guard. 31 years of age, 31 years of age. KG carried the Minnesota Timberwolves on his back for 9 or 10 years before he decided to leave. Damian Lillard is 31 years of age, had been carrying the Portland Trail Blazers for 9 years. It's time for him to go. You heard what Dame, it's time for him to win a championship. You don't want to have any regrets. If you're going to leave and go somewhere, you want to leave where you can go compete right now, not later down the line. You don't have time. And then if you're the New York Knicks, if you're that franchise, why would you give up everything that you have built up from the ground up? You have developed a culture now. You developed Julius Randle, who was a first-time All-Star. R.J. Barrett is finally coming into his own. Why would you give that up to go get a superstar in Damian Lillard and not have a for sure guarantee that you're going to attract other superstars? It's crazy to me.
Perk, listen, I understand that. 31 ain't old no more either, based on what Chris Paul just did. But I understand what you're saying about right now. And obviously that's why Portland conventionally is the place that Dame Lillard needs to stay, because they can start that process a bit earlier. But if we talking about him moving on and obviously not going to the obvious, he's not going to a team that's a contender. He ain't going to the Clippers, or he ain't going to the Lakers, or he ain't going to somebody like that, or in the East, or somewhere where he just gonna go in and win a championship. If Dame Lillard wants a year, let's just say a year, right? If I'm leaving Portland, I'm gonna go to the Knicks, and in a year, you guys make moves in order to get guys around me. It's some young fellas coming up. We don't know if Zion wants to stay in New Orleans as much as it would hurt my heart for him to leave. I don't want him to leave because that's my team. It would hurt me very much so. But I'm looking at Dame Lillard right now at 31. Foundationally would be your superstar. You know we can start with this piece. We have a championship piece
Right.
on our team.
I guess
now we
then
begin to add.
But then what's next? So like this is wrong on both accounts because it's like one, all right, you get Damian Lillard and then you can build around him, but you've already had to give up everything. So how are you going to get someone? Who else are you going to trade for if you've given everything away? But even if that weren't the problem,
I'm under the assumption that they ain't giving
even if that weren't the
everything
problem,
away.
the other thing. Well, you're going to have to get Damian Lillard. But the other thing is, you just talked about how terrible the culture has been in New York in recent history and how terrible everyone kind of thinks about them and how it's a marquee destination, but it's not a place where a lot of superstars have wanted to go, in part because the players don't like the way that the organization have treated them. Now they are under some new leadership and Leon Rose and West and those guys, and that has changed. Okay, it's working. That has changed.
Stop,
and then your reaction to that is to send all the people out. We're going to trade everybody away. That's not going to help.
Stop. Dominique, stop. You sound like Max. Stop. You go kill our argument and make Swag Goose sound right. Stop it right there. Don't say another word. Don't say another word.
I was about to jump.
So we have to take a break,
jump on it.
Unfortunately, guys, because we could go on about this all day.
All right.
But we've got more to come because we mentioned it earlier. You will not believe the shocking take that Big Perk has on Kawhi Leonard. Perk is an article came out yesterday written by our very own Ramona Shelbourne detailing Kawhi Leonard and how, according to multiple sources, Russell Westbrook had called the star and wanted to team up in LA. But instead, Leonard didn't just take the call. Instead, he filed it away and used it to ultimately poach Paul George into coming to LA. Our Kendrick Perkins has some very passionate thoughts about this. So, Kendrick, carry on.
Carry on. Tell Stephen A. and Max to keep a cool booty while I address this situation, all right? No, Max, that's Max. Stop, just stop. Max Kellerman. Stop it, Max. Stop it. What, Max? What are you talking about?
Calm down.
Hold that L. He better knock him down. He's a professional. Bro, put some respect on that man's name. We lost our mind debating with you. Yeah, you lost, all right. They want all this smoke. Carry on.
Well then, Perk. I would really like to have you carry on some more.
Well, here it is, right? Let me start off by saying this. I think Kawhi Leonard is a hell of a basketball player, and what he's accomplished has been golden, right? Winning championships and finals MVPs, two-time defensive player of the year. But here's the problem that I have with Kawhi Leonard. They have this old saying that goes around the country of America, right? The United States, and it's not just in the South. Kawhi Leonard is a guy that throws stones and hide his hand, all right? And when it comes down to it, we have been letting him off the hook for too long. And he's a guy that flies under the radar, that has been doing sneaky stuff, been getting catered to, and just because he's quiet, we don't address him. We looking at this situation with him and Russell Westbrook. This is supposed to be your homie. This is a confidential conversation. You don't use this conversation or ignore this brother phone call to go lure Paul George to come to the Clippers. By the way, when you get to the Clippers, the firing of Doc Rivers, everybody wanted to point the finger at Paul George, but Paul George wasn't the only one that had a saying in firing Doc Rivers. Kawhi Leonard was right there with him, but nobody wanted to blame Kawhi Leonard for what he was doing. And then to top it off, you look at this season alone, right? Kawhi Leonard gets hurt, he goes down. Most of the time when you see a guy go down and your team is in the heat of the battle and they're in the playoffs, they not in the suite, wiggling their toes, eating steak and shrimp. They down there on the bench, encouraging their teammates. They're in the trenches with their guys, giving pep talks, helping the young guys like Terrence Mann be down there in the trenches. So look, we heard about the helicopter rides to the practice facility and to the plane being held up and being late, not being able to take off on time because they was waiting on Kawhi Leonard. Let LeBron James do some stuff like that and watch how people go in the media and kill them. And I'm part of the problem because we should have been addressed this like the numbers on the house. Carry the hell on.
All right, Kendrick. I mean, I can't disagree with anything that you said there. But the one thing that I'm confused about is you did this to me earlier. You were wrong, but you tried to do it. You tried to go back to yesterday and point out a slight contradiction that I actually didn't make. But I feel like yesterday I was saying some of these things, like Kawhi was being a little bit dishonest with the organization. And you responded to me by saying, no, he was in communication. They love Kawhi there. Kawhi is looking out for everybody. They was trying to keep the other team on their toes. That's why he wasn't telling people what was going on. So I feel you. I'm with you. Kawhi does seem like some of the things that he's doing is a little bit sketchy, but I'm just confused at what happened. It was just they took this one story to put you over the top to come to my side?
No. You see, when you get a clean cut and you come on here looking like Lil Boosie, you think you slick, right? But I ain't falling for it because we was talking about the injury. We was talking about the injury to Kawhi Leonard. We never talked about what happened behind the scenes. We talked about the injury part of it and about them covering that up for us, him tearing his ACL. I never talked about him sitting up in the suite and being catered to and the way that he's been handling things behind the scenes and not being held accountable. We talked about them hiding his injury. That's what the communication part is. You tried to be slick, but you can't out-slick a slick, okay?
Marcus,
Perk, I love it.
Feel free.
I love it. But you're right, man. You're right. I felt like Kawhi has skated by a little bit on a lot of things he's done. And obviously, when you look at it from a perspective of a player taking ownership of his own career, we all applaud that. We all sit here and applaud when a guy is making decisions based on not only his future, but setting himself up in a position to be successful. But even on the basketball court, like the Clippers ain't accomplished what they supposed to. Like I like all of the off the court stuff. I don't know the details of those stories. I know this is shady with him and this Russell Westbrook and Paul George situation. But even on the court, like Ballmer when Kawhi signed with the Los Angeles Clippers, the goal and plan was to win a championship. Y'all know who has won a championship since they made that decision? LeBron James going over to the Lakers. That's the issue that I have with Kawhi Leonard. That's the issue because when Kawhi left and went to the Clippers and brought Paul George in, first it was some demands made to get Paul George there in order for him to commit to it. And secondly, they ain't where they supposed to be. So Perk, for all you guys, all you NBA aficionados, all you guys that cover this league, beyond Kawhi's shade and the things that he's done off the court, he ain't done a damn thing on the court. And I know injuries played a part into this year, and I get it. But Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and that Clippers team, even when they brought Doc in, was not signed for some 2 to 3 year window plan. They were signed to win a championship. So amongst other things that you beefing about with Kawhi, on the court, it would have been LeBron that went to LA and not brought a championship in 2 or 3 years based on the things they did to get him there. And we would be having that conversation as well, along with what we found out about the phone call with Russell Westbrook. I'm with you. It's shady. It ain't right. And ultimately, the decisions that he made ain't led to what the hell the Clippers thought it was going to lead to, and that's an NBA championship. It's been disappointing all the way around.
The argument on the other side, and I agree, this is something that I can't really condone and support, but the argument on the other side is just because somebody called you first, you owe them some loyalty? Like, we don't know. This was the story that Ramona got, and I believe her story, but we don't know that he didn't have Paul George targeted, and then once somebody else call you, you can't then go call that teammate. Like, to me, I understand all the things in the track record. The reason why I agree with you, Perk, is because it's a track record. I think just this one incident, based on the facts that we have, this one incident is not quite enough for me to be over the top about how he is a bit selfish. But I agree because it shows a track record. I don't think that if a guy call you, that means you then can't play with his teammate ever.
No. Time out. First of all, Kawhi Leonard and Russell Westbrook are brodies, okay? It's a difference. When you have a friendship outside of your professional basketball career, it's a difference, Dominique. Now you're starting to make me feel really hesitant about picking up the phone and calling you. If you gonna have that type of attitude, I might need to put you on the block list. I might need to put you on the block list for what just came out of your mouth. I got my eye on you. I got my eye on you.
I am not defending it. I'm just trying to give the man a fair shake. Is this not America? I'm saying we've heard one side of this story.
It's been long enough, Foxy. It's been long enough. That's her point.
There's always two sides to every story. There's absolutely two sides to every story. Before we let this escalate anymore, we have to move on and take a break. But we've got more coming for you on First Take. And we're going to talk about how loaded is this year's rookie QB crop, tweaking to make a playoff push as we start August. Our coverage starts at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on ESPN and the app. One app, one tap.
I feel like I've worked my whole life for this moment, playing the playoffs. It feels good.
Young fires one more dagger.
I know where we are. I know what they do when the show is over.
Trae Young with a miraculous shot. It got real quiet in there.
I play with excitement. I feel fun. I love it.
Oh, from way downtown.
Oh, man. I'm obviously doing something right. Just got to let my play do the talking.
If you didn't know, Trae Young was a superstar before this year's playoffs. You can't ignore him now. Young took the Hawks all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals before falling to eventual champions, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Hawks rewarded Young with a 5-year designated rookie maximum extension that could be worth up to $207 million. Meanwhile, according to Mark Stein, the Mavericks are going to offer Luka a 5-year, $202 million extension after the Olympics. Here's how Luka and Ice Trae compare for their careers. Trae Young and Luka Doncic have had similar scoring and assist numbers over their careers. Doncic has had more team success over the course of the regular season, but Young led the Hawks to the conference finals this past season. There's no doubt that Luka has been crushing it in the Olympics, and now Trae got paid. So Marcus, I'm going to start with you. Who would you rather build a franchise around, Luka or Trae Young?
Luka Doncic, 6'7", 230. Can do it all, and when this jumper not falling, can get to the rack and play a physical game. Listen, this is easy for me. And as much as I got respect for Ice Trae and what he did in the playoffs, and I think it's going to continue, Atlanta and Dallas are happy with the trade. I'm taking the physical presence. One thing we've talked about for so long when it comes to LeBron James is not only his skill set, his physical ability, the attributes that he has. And I'm not by any means saying Luka is a superior athlete. But I love 6'7", 230 at the point guard spot. A facilitator, a guy that will drop it off, a guy that'll knock down a shot and play an inside-outside game. And when you look at basketball now, when you look at where we are now in the game of basketball as far as guys coupling up to win championships or dudes being scorers off the dribble as opposed to needing help to get open and all of those things that transpire throughout the course of a game, I like Luka better than anybody in the league, especially when we point into the future. And there's some hoopers in the league, like Devin Booker. You got Trae. You got all of these guys, all of these young guys that's going to carry the face of the league and take it into the next step after KD is done being KD. But right now, out of these two, for me, it's Luka Doncic. And a big part of that is because the skill set is no different. Both of these guys can do some of the similar things on the field, on the court. But when you look at the ability to be physical down low, when you need to put a guy on your back, when you need a game-winning bucket and nowhere on the floor is off limits, that's Luka Doncic for me.
Perkins, what about you?
And you know what, Spears? It's Trae Young for me, okay? Because, look, it's no limitations when it comes down with Trae Young. He's pulling up from half court. He's doing it all. And, look, let's not get it twisted, okay? It was a lot of people that doubted Trae Young. It was a lot of people that said this man was going to be a bust when he came out of college. Boy, has he proved the world wrong. And when you look at Ice Trae, and what are we talking about right now? We talking about a physical specimen, a 6'7" point guard, or we talking about a guy that's going to embrace the moment at the biggest time when the lights are bright, when they hit the ice. We're talking about Ice Trae. You saw what he went down there and did to Spike Lee, Stephen A. and the New York Knicks. You saw how he took a bow on Broadway after he guaranteed basically that you got to come back to Atlanta. We go get 2 wins, and then we go close this thing out in New York. You saw what he did to the #1 seed against the Philadelphia 76ers in the second round, who's one of the top defensive teams in the league. Oh, we gonna put Ben Simmons on them. We got Mike Tybo. We got all these guys to defend them. He went in there and torched them people, sent them home packing, broke up a happy home. The 76ers got to go to marriage counseling right now because of Ice Trae. And then look, first game of the series in the Eastern Conference Finals, went to Milwaukee and gave them people a 48-piece wing dinner, spicy, all flats. And for you, Big Swagoo, Cajun rub style. Let's not forget, that series was tied 2-2. That series was tied 2-2 before Ice Trae turned his ankle. We don't know what could have happened if Ice Trae didn't turn his ankle and get injured. So when I look at Trae Young and I look at his ability and the way that his teammates love playing with him, right? We don't have this Porzingis and Luka beef that you got down there in Dallas. Trae Young teammates actually love playing with Trae Young because yeah, whatever his name is, you know what I mean. You from the country too. Don't you start that. Don't you start that. But you know what I'm talking.
I'm not talking about your speech. I'm talking about Porzingis is the problem. It ain't Luka. Porzingis sensitive.
Yeah,
and then his feelings about not being the option.
Yeah, but but Spears, this the same Porzingis that 2 years ago him and Luka both was averaging 30 when they was down there in Orlando in the bubble. So what's the problem now? But look, I'm not even here to discredit Luka. Yeah. I'm here to tell you about the greatness of Trae Young. And if I'm starting a franchise right now, I'm taking Ice Trae.
I love that you have taken this opportunity to tell us about the greatness of Trae Young, because you're right. People were down on him after the draft. People said you could never win with a guy like that, and he's disproved everyone, anybody who said that, made them look stupid. I wasn't one who said that, so I'm happy that you are giving him his moment and his flowers right now, but you're still wrong. Like, it's a nice thing to do, a nice thing to say. He's better than people anticipated. Maybe the trade on draft day was not as foolish as everyone thought. But it comes down to the physical presence that Spears was talking about. Like, that is a major difference. If you look through the history of the NBA Finals, the guys who win Finals MVP are either big men or, more recently, wings. A versatile wing, and that is what Luka is. And Luka, frankly, Trae Young, we talk about how great a shooter he is. He's not that great a shooter. Like, he hits some big shots, but he's not that much of a better shooter than Luka is. Like, they both need to improve as far as their shooting is concerned to take the next step. And let's be honest, I'm gonna end it with this particular question right here, and I hope we can bring up my man right now. If we can talk so I can see Kendrick. I need to see his half angry, half sleepy face so that I can ask him this question. If you had to switch between rosters, you move my man Trae Young to Dallas, and you move. No, because I think that's the difference. The difference is the rosters. It's not as if Luka is not hitting big shots in big situations. The difference in the depth that they go into playoffs is because guys like Kevin Huerter, and I know it ain't a name that people wanted to hear, but they can potentially go off. Tell me the last time that Luka got that help. You know, like, that's not a thing that happens for him. The rosters are different. So the simple question. Yeah, I brought out my man from Maryland. The simple question is for Perk is, if you switch them on rosters, do you think that the Hawks would not have gone as far if Luka was in place of Trae Young? I don't.
Well, first of all, this is what we not about to do, Dominique, is move the goalposts. Because at the start of this season, before last season, if we would have been on this show, together, and I would have asked you who had the better roster out of the Atlanta Hawks and the Dallas Mavericks, you probably would have said the Dallas Mavericks. When you think of Luka, you think of Porzingis, you think of Tim Hardaway Jr., you think of Bronson, who's coming in off the bench, you think of Powell, who they have coming off the bench, you think of Maxi Kleber. Let's not act like he didn't have weapons around him. Matter of fact, Trae Young wasn't even playing.
Hold on, y'all.
No one on Trae Young. Listen, hold on. Barbershop right now. Perk, you know damn well you starting the team with Luka.
No, why are we doing
too
this?
much basketball.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Young,
It ain't no
before
damn
you take
well I'm
Luka
doing
Doncic,
nothing.
bro.
Come
on, man.
It ain't no damn well I'm doing nothing. Because yeah, I know that. I know that. We also played on the same AAU team. We've been knowing each other.
You having recency bias.
We've been knowing.
You having recency bias.
In what point? In what point? I ain't getting paid.
You got
Trae Young ain't putting no dollars in my pocket. You
got Trae Young coming off of this playoff series where he went off and played great. Right. But let's not forget what Luka did in the bubble, and everybody was going crazy and talking about this the face of the league. That was everybody.
Let me get in for a quick second. Let me get in for a quick second. Perk, you tried to come at me and say at the beginning of this year, would I have said the same thing about the roster? Like that matters. The year has told us something. At the beginning of this season, would you have said that Trae Young is better than Luka? Yeah, you wouldn't have said that because the season changed your mind. So this season changed my mind about the people surrounding Trae Young, and it changed my mind about the people surrounding Luka. And I think Luka's cast around him is not as good.
See, let me tell you something. This is where you lost me on 2 points, okay? 1 point is you must haven't been watching me a lot on TV talk about basketball because you've been writing those great articles for the undefeated. Because I've been high on Trae Young. I've been high on Trae Young, and I've been high on the Atlanta Hawks. Matter of fact, I had the Atlanta Hawks pick top 5 in the Eastern Conference to make the playoffs before the season even started because I know how great Trae Young is. And this is another thing. We sitting up here talking about size, and I'm not taking anything away from Luka. And Dominique, you said going back into the history of the NBA and size. You remember a guy by the name of Isaiah Thomas that played for Detroit?
You're going to start naming aberrations. Isaiah Thomas
don't do that.
Chauncey Billups did it. But
don't do that.
That's rare.
Chauncey Billups ain't a small guard. Chauncey Billups wasn't a small guard. Chauncey Billups was a big guard. Chauncey Billups is 6'4". What are you talking about?
Okay, fine.
I'm talking about small guards. We're talking about size.
Okay, that's
Measure
fine.
the size of his heart.
Okay. Then take Chauncey Billups out. So we got Isaiah.
All right, things are getting very spicy
Measure
here,
the size of his heart.
Before we have to, we could go on about this all day. Before things get any spicier, which Perk, by the way, you've got me thinking about spicy wings, so thank you for that.
How you look mad and sleepy at the same time?
We've got everyone talking about the Lakers and have the Lakers. Okay, we're going to bring it home.
Victoria.
We're going to bring it home.
Victoria.
Getting too spicy here. There's a lot of hot sauce. Everyone's talking the Lakers. The Lakers are projected to win the West next season, but the Warriors haven't gone anywhere. So how many titles will they win in the years to come? That debate is coming up next. It'll be a little less spicy, so stay tuned.
Oh.